Life's Tough, but Superheroes Are Tougher. A podcast about real-life superheroes in the entertainment industry with your host, Stephen Shane.
This episode is brought to you by the Podcast Services Division at Life's Tough Media. Having your own podcast allows you to creatively reach all types of audiences, from clients to prospects, to your most loyal membership base. And by utilizing studio affiliates located around the world, coupled with quality remote recording capabilities, Life's Tough Media makes having a corporate podcast easier than ever before. Contact us for a no-obligation consultation at info@lifestuff.com or visit lifestuff.com to learn more.
Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of Life's Tough, Superheroes Are Tougher. Today we have not one, not two, but probably 1,000 different guests. So this is going to be a very special show because we've never had this many guests on at the same time. I think we have John Madden, Tony Romo, Robert Downey Jr., John Gruden, the whole cast of Seinfeld. Thousands of people are appearing today, Alex. This is the first for us.
Great. It's great. Our money for guests is gone. We're in the hole. Right. We're bleeding. We're bleeding money.
So Frank Caliendo is here. Frank, thank you for joining us today.
I'm not getting paid for this. All my impressions are getting paid and I'm not. What the heck's going on here?
He sent it to a P.O. box. He sent us that address earlier.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Some random P.O. box.
As Italian as I am, this is sounding more Italian. Hey, it's in the mail. Don't worry about it. Everything's taken care of. You got it taken care of. Seamus, they're gonna do you right, okay? Huh? Make it happen. There we go.
The problem is, Frank, we're already over budget. So that's it. There was do it. So Frank, we know each other from the Ace shows. You bring your family. It's sort of a family affair. It's not just a family affair for you. It's a family affair for us. My family comes to the show. Alex is at all the shows. So before we get started, talk a little bit about the family affair of it all, right? Obviously, you're a superhero fan. You bring your kids. Your daughter's meeting Tom Hiddleston, and then you're doing your impression of Tom Hiddleston while your daughter is talking to Tom.
And it wasn't even very good yet. That was one of the things I wasn't ready for. And yes, well, and I've worked on it quite a bit. And yes, and if I did that for him, he'd be like, yes, I don't believe that I am Loki of Asgard and I'm burdened with glorious purpose. I'm Thor, son of Odin. No. So for me, let me start with where my superhero stuff came from, because when I was a kid, and you can see some of the stuff behind me, I was a Super Friends fanatic. So Saturday morning cartoons was the announcer, meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice. And that announcer, I used to talk about this in my act, that announcer in classic Saturday morning cartoon fashion would give you all the exposition of what was going to happen, and then they would act out what he just said. So it'd be like, meanwhile, back at the Legion of Doom, Lex Luthor plans to take over the world. I have a plan to take over the world. So they would just say everything that was going to happen. Now, the original voice of that narration was actually Ted Knight, the guy from Caddyshack, Married.
Oh, really? That I didn't know.
Yes. If you listen back to the old ones, you'll hear him go, meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice. So they were like the Wonder Twins. That was this guy. Meanwhile, but the Wendy and Marvin and the Wonder Dog was, meanwhile, oh, Marvin, come on, Wonder Dog, hey, oh, Billy. So I watched that. I was a huge fan. I was a comic book fan. My grandpa used to take us to a 5 and dime store. You guys probably remember what those are, but it was like I'm not even sure exactly what it was, but it was a little bit of everything. It was Mr. Kurtz's in Elmwood Park, Illinois. And we would always go there and we would get Iron Man comics, Spiderman, and Hulk. I loved Hulk as a little kid. I think it was because I was husky. I wasn't Hulk. I was husky. Husky, smash, a cake in your face, kind of a thing. So I grew up with that stuff. Then the Spider-Man, I was in the 80s. I saw it must have been reruns, but it was the Spider-Man stuff. Spider-Man, that whole thing. And I introduced that stuff to my kids. Now, my son was the one who was really into superheroes at the beginning. He loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And my kids also loved the Dark Knight trilogy. Mm-hmm. My daughter was watching that way before she should have been. One of those things where you look back and go, man, we we had her developing in the wrong path early on. Want to know how I got these scars? No. She's 8. Bad idea, bad parenting. So my son started out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We used to go and watch all the MCU movies. My daughter wasn't into it all. She was in cheerleading and all that kind of stuff. Gymnastics, cheerleading. And my son started to get bored, or I shouldn't say bored. He got sick of me and wanted to go. He's like, Dad, I'm sorry, but I kind of want to go with my friends now. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's where I feel like I'm losing, my son at this point. That happens, but I didn't think it was going to be that early. But in the meantime, he's doing that. And it's the same, it just happens. Funny how what life works out. My daughter, on her 13th birthday, actually, I believe it might have been her 12th birthday. It was her 12th birthday. She's 14 now. It's about 2 years ago. We were at a trampoline park for her birthday. She broke her elbow on the trampoline. As a gymnast, those trampolines, yes, her birthday in the morning, breaks the elbow.
A disaster. What a disaster.
Terrible. In the words of Charles Barkley, terrible. It was really, really bad, right? Think about it, Shaq. Yeah, that's not good. You never want to have on your birthday, break an elbow, maybe break a pinky, something like that, but break an elbow, that's really bad. Breaking your back is bad. When Bane broke Batman's back, that was really, really bad. I hate it when Batman gets his back broken by a man who's talking into a Dixie cup. That's crazy. So once again, meanwhile, back in the interview Frank's supposed to be doing. So we take her to the hospital. We have a pediatric surgeon who lives in our neighborhood. And he's like, don't get the surgery done right away. I think it'll grow back. Well, there were some issues, not with the doctors, but more with her. She eventually had a surgery. And in that time, when she couldn't do gymnastics or cheer anymore, my son pretty much made her watch Guardians of the Galaxy. And she likes music, and she loves, she turns out to love the Office and Parks and Rec and all those kinds of shows. But she just falls in love with the whole movie Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, okay, well, let's watch more of these. Since I'm losing my son, I'm pushing them up on my daughter at this point.
Smart.
Well, she gets into this big time, to the point where all she does is she's on YouTube. She's researching everything. We watched Captain America, the first Avenger together. I could do this all day. She's doing quotes on your left. And I'm missing the quotes. Like, she'll be walking by me. She's like, on your left. I'm like, how do you sound like Chris Evans? How do you do that? So that she gets this love for the MCU, and what it does is it takes over for something that she's lost in her life, and the gymnastics and stuff like that at the time. In that time, we go to a comic book shop, and they're like, hey, Ace Comic-Con is coming to Arizona. And I knew about some of the Comic-Cons and stuff like that. I knew a little bit about them, but I started seeing the advertisements for Ace, and I'm like, oh, this is the real deal. This isn't like one of these local things where some of nothing wrong with that, but this isn't one where you have the comic book fans only. This is movie star fans, and this is bigger. This is something. This is special event time, which I came to learn about what your events are. They're more than just a Comic-Con. In fact, they're an experience, right? It's yep. We're not going to the local theme park. We're going to Disney World. Brad Foster. Thank you. You'll notice I have a guy who does impressions and never remembers names, which is difficult. So Brad Foster, I meet up with Brad Foster through the comic book guy, and we go out there, and I wasn't ready for what I was about to see, because I was like, oh my gosh, these are Charlie Cox is there. It's a lot of different people. Tom Hiddleston was the main one, and I was just like, oh gosh. So I was gonna do a little thing. It was actually really tough, because that was a weird situation. That was that event arena. You couldn't hear anything.
Right, it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
And I went up there and Brad had talked me into doing a little thing, and I'm like, people want to see the fans. They don't want to see me do a bunch of voices. They don't care about that. They want to get to Tom Hiddleston. They want to get to what's his name from the
Fassbender.
Fassbender was fantastic.
Taron Egerton.
To Edgerton, yeah. And it was like the total wrong audience for me. All these young girls that are sitting up front, and here comes chubby Frank Caliendo. I'm Morgan Freeman, and you don't really care because you want the cuter guy. So I was like, okay, whatever, in that kind of a thing. But and it was just a weird feeling. But people were nice in that. But in the meantime, I go backstage, and Tom Hiddleston standing there, and I'm not thinking about it. I became very conscious of lots of rules and stuff, like nothing anybody put on me or said, but just things like, hey, we're lucky to be back here. Be careful. Because I remember my wife pulling out a camera when Tom Hiddleston started talking. It was like, and his bodyguard goes, no. And it was a funny thing. I was like, no, you can't. This is not where you're supposed to do that. And I understood that, but my wife, she doesn't care about any rules.
Again, smart lady.
Yeah,
smart lady.
Right. Well, but Tom was super. Tom was super nice, and yes, and it's wonderful that you're here. And the guy comes over, and my wife ended up loving the bodyguard. They became
Tyron
and stuff like
Tyron.
That. Yeah. Unbelievable guy.
By the way, he's like an Australian, like super spy, not spy, but like super agent, whatever. Yeah.
Actually, we saw him in the rafters later. Like, there he is.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around, Ty.
No, it was fantastic. But it was one of those things my wife had to learn. I knew most of this stuff, but because I've been in some situations. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here for a second. So the Super Bowl, Nick Swartzen, you know who he is. He's a friend of mine from way back. He's in a lot of Sandler movies, helps Adam Sandler write and stuff. Brings me up to Sandler's suite at the Super Bowl in Arizona. And I go to meet Adam Sandler, hang out with him for a couple seconds, say, hey, I saw you on the Tonight Show the other day. That was really, really great. Nice job, right? So then I'm on cloud nine. Sandler knows who I am. He thinks I'm funny and stuff like that. I walk over, and then Jennifer Aniston goes, Adam was talking about you on the Tonight Show. Are you in the entertainment industry? I was like, oh, okay. So I go from Sandler knowing who I am to Jennifer Aniston not knowing who I am, and I'm like, I got to get out of this sports stuff. All right, so but that's kind of my background with being around super famous people. So the Tom Hiddleston thing was fantastic. He was super nice. He's like, and I heard you do a Tom Hiddleston, and maybe this is the thing about all those superstars. They're nice, but they're really nice. I mean, they're in a situation where they're supposed to be nice, and agents a lot of times help you. I've had that too. Stephen and I had that back and forth about agents can protect you and stuff like that, but everybody I've seen there is beyond fantastic. Nobody's like, I got to get out of here kind of thing.
We have enough of a sample size and working with a lot of A+ talent over the years. We want to make sure that the people who come actually want to be there. Yeah. And what we always say is, at ACE, you don't meet your heroes, you meet your superheroes.
Oh, yeah.
And what I mean by that is that, it's one thing to see somebody who played a character or something 50 years ago. And we joke around, we have a term that we use is they don't look like themselves, right? Mm-hmm. They may have played that character 40 years ago, but they're so far removed from that character that they don't look like that. But then you have Chris Evans, and when you go to ACE and you meet Chris Evans, you're meeting Captain America. You're not meeting a guy who plays him or who this, that. Like you're meeting Captain America.
You're not meeting John Walker.
Right.
You're meeting.
Topical.
You're meeting. Yeah, I'm with it, guys. We watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier in the theater.
Oh, right. That's funny. Yeah. So it's one of those. It's one of those things where we want, when you're meeting Gal Gadot, you're meeting Wonder Woman, to the point where even when fans come in, they're like, where's Wonder Woman? Like they're not even, she's not Gal. She is Wonder Woman.
Yeah. You're not going to meet Wonder Grandma. You're going to meet Wonder Woman.
Exactly.
And all the wives that go with the husbands are like, stop staring. So we meet Tom Hiddleston. That was a fantastic experience. And when I first, I'm just being honest with you in that whole situation, because I was thrown into it and didn't even know what was going to happen. It was just kind of amazing for me too. And Juliet took a picture with Tom, which he doesn't really even do. And I didn't even compute that. I said, let's just wait. And then we ended up waiting in the line and did the things, and she got the extra pictures. We never ever Tom was so nice. He did one backstage picture, and he didn't say anything, but I'm like, don't ever post that anywhere. That's ours. That's ours for home. That's just, and my daughter who's smart about that stuff, has never let, people come and looked in her room and be like, that's amazing. And I'm like, I know, I'm just an incredible dad to make that happen. Thank the Shames brothers. Okay. I didn't really say that. I take all the credit at that point. So
Perfect.
so that was a great experience. Just watching Tom the first time do his panel, which was great. Angelique Roche doing a great job, the interviews, and it was just, I hadn't seen anything like that. So I was really excited about that. I even as an aside to that, while we were waiting to go actually do the actual pictures with Tom at Ace, Todd McFarlane walks in. He's like, Frank, how's it going? He's unbelievable. He starts
big sports guy.
Yeah, huge. And he starts drawing Venom and telling the story of Venom for Juliet, and drawing Venom on the back of a call sheet for Ace, for Ace Universe. He's he's drawn on that. So we had that, which is incredible as well.
Great.
And Todd lives 3 miles from me, just down the street. We were at his house right before Christmas.
Oh, nice.
But outside, of course, but just hanging out. And he loves Juliet. He's like, I'm gonna give her my company. I'm like, fine, no problem with that.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, please. Where do we sign, Willy Wonka? I can show you. So that was great. What a great experience that first Ace was. And I thought that was probably going to be it. But then Juliet had more problems with the elbow. She had another surgery. Oof. And here's the weird thing about going to a Comic-Con, especially Ace. Everybody's in costume, right? Well, she has a, it looks like she's the Winter Soldier because she has a brace on her left arm. And people just think it's, she's going to take pictures with people, and people are like, oh, what's your costume? Say, no, I broke my elbow. They're like, really? So this is one of those moments where the reason we went was it was her birthday again. So it was Seattle, and it was her birthday, and it was 1 year after, it was the 1 year anniversary of her elbow break. So Chris Evans is there, and Josh Brolin is there. And I have some of the same agents as some of the people out there. So I had talked to my agency and said, hey, what can I meet Josh Brolin? When's the chance I'm going to be, cross paths with Josh Brolin in a civilian situation? Can you get it set up that I can meet them? They're like, yeah, we can do it. Well, and again, I'm being very careful because I don't want to bother, you guys allow me a lot of opportunities and stuff like that. And I try to help out and do some things for people. I was running errands at, it's so funny because I have no problem doing it, but people like that, is that Frank Caliendo? I'm like, yeah, I got to get over here because somebody needs
my group. My time group is up. I got to go. My pictures are right now.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I got to bring somebody a stapler or something like that. It's coming to the end of the day, and we go to take a picture with Josh Brolin, right? So we get in line, go to take the picture. Brolin, I have one picture with me, my wife, and my daughter Juliet. So my wife Michelle, my daughter Juliet. I have a picture, and in the picture you can actually see, and this is one that I never put out there, but because I think it's so funny but it's personal, that Josh's eyes are like, don't I know this guy? Because, That's funny. Because Josh Brolin actually used me, and I have interviews of this. I think I sent it to you, Stephen, because I wanted you to believe me.
Yes.
That Josh Brolin and Oliver Stone watched me for the movie W for him to get the impression part of the George W. Bush, right? So to get that. So we're waiting. I finally, because I don't want to bother you or Garib in these shows. Like, I feel like, you know what, you guys, the two of you, but Garib actually looks more relaxed than you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm running around. I'm running around.
Yeah, you are going crazy. And there are times, and I know from events that I've been a part of and watch, nothing ever goes 100% right.
No,
Everything. things go right for the audience. I've never seen anything fall apart in front of the audience, but I know backstage, especially, people are on their own time. It's a crazy thing for everybody to try and get so much done. You guys pack a ton of stuff in, and to get so many people to be able to do something. So I'm on the phone with my agent. I call my direct agent, and I'm like, listen, if you guys don't get me to meet Josh Brolin, I'm leaving the agency. And I literally pulled that one. And I make them a lot of money. I don't make them Avenger money, but I make them a lot of money, right? So they're like, we'll get it taken care of. So finally, it's nearing the end of the day. I believe it was the second day. So it was Saturday, but Brolin and Evans are doing pictures together.
Right.
There was actually a stage show, which I think is one of the best parts of meeting the people is amazing. But the stage, when you get multiple MCU people on that stage together, when they start interacting and ribbing each other, and you can't beat that. But my daughter didn't mind missing. So we had a chance to go meet Josh Brolin a little bit earlier. And she's like, I got to see this part with Don Cheadle. And I have to see this. And it was the one where Chris Evans, like the dog comes out of the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's the dog. That
went viral. Yeah, hugely viral. An amazing moment. So she was right. She didn't want to miss that. But then we finally get it hooked up. We go to meet meet Josh Brolin. They're like, Josh is going to be there, but you're going to have to meet Chris Evans too. I'm like, I'll deal with this. So this is one of those moments for me that it could never have gotten any better than this. We go in, Josh sees me, and he's like, I knew exactly who you were. I'm like,
that's funny.
I didn't even say anything. He goes, I didn't know why you were here. And I go, well, it's my daughter is the reason I'm here. And I said, we're all fans of, the MCU, but she's a massive fan. And Chris Evans goes, what's going on? And because it was one of these things where it was just confusing because we kind of stopped time. I mean, it was like we had the time still, right? It was like we were in the Infinity Gauntlet at that moment. So he's like, this guy, and Evan's like, this guy, or I'm sorry, Josh Brolin is like, this guy's responsible for one of my roles. And Evan's like, what role? I'm like, Thanos. Inevitable. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm kidding. He goes, wait a second, who are you? And I go, Frank Caliendo. He goes, oh my God. And Evan starts going, oh, do some mad. He said, do mad talking about do Belichick, because he's a huge Patriots fan.
Yeah. Right.
He even brought the Patriots to one of the Avengers movies, right? I think it was Civil War.
But by the way, as a side note, Chris does the voiceovers for some of the post-game Patriot stuff too, by the way.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's him calling right now.
Yeah, he's like, excuse me, I told you not to tell anybody.
Hey, Stephen, 5 years ago, we lost. All of us. We lost friends. We lost family. We lost a part of ourselves. Today, we have the chance to take it all back. All right. So, so it ends up, and this is you're going to be mad at me here because you're going to figure out why that ran a little late. So we're talking with them, and that's a long day for those guys. Sometimes they were so happy for us to be in there, and Brolin's talking to Juliet about her elbow and all kinds of stuff. And then Evans is just making me, he's got the organ grinder out and he's making the monkey dance kind of a thing. It's like, dun, 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 dun.
So he has to do Madden.
Oh yeah. I'm like, whatever you want, Mr. Evans, whatever you want, do you want John Madden? Hey, here's a guy who took a super suit. And he keeps hitting me. Evans is just smashing me in the shoulder. He's just like, and Terry Bradshaw that used to do that, and Howie Long. He's one of those guys. He's just hitting me. I'm like, relax. You got the super soldier serum. You're twice my size. I'm twice your age. Be careful what you're doing here. So, but he's having a great time. He's just having fun with it. And Kitsy Duncan, Kitsy's like, we got to get going. We got to get going. Like, hold on a second. He's like, oh, we got to get a picture with these guys. He's like, you got to get a picture. I'm like, that's okay. He's like, no, you got to get a picture. So, and she's just going, oh my God, Steven's going to kill him. So,
it's true.
I know. So they get us out of there. I mean, it felt like an eternity because it was so amazing, but it was, So we go out, we're on the other side of the pipe and drape. Juliet's smiling ear to ear. My daughter's going crazy. And Evan comes out to take a little break, maybe 10 minutes later, because we're just relaxing out there, just like we can't believe this all just happened. And then Chris Evans sees me. He's like, Frank. I'm like, yeah, what's up, Chris? You know, hey, buddy. You guys want to hang out a little? So he's talking. He's like, he's doing all this stuff. He's like, you guys around the rest of the weekend? What's going on? I'm like, no, we gotta head out. You know, school on Monday and stuff like that. She's like, oh, too bad. So I go to talk to Juliet for a minute after that, and she's like, that was unbelievable. I'm like, what? She's like, he talked to you again. I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, but this time he didn't have to talk to you. He wanted to talk to you. This is the greatest day of my life. I'm like, well, it's all downhill from here. And it was her,
Enjoy it.
That was her 13th birthday, because I said, yeah, this is 13 and you've peaked, kid. This is it. And I go, listen, not all the Avengers are going to be that big a sports fans. Some of them will know me from, might know me from something else. But you've met Brolin, who knows me from the political impressions, and probably he's a sports guy too. And then Evans, and that was, for me, it was the greatest thing. Not for me personally, it was kind of cool for me, as just a human being, for these super mega stars to know me. But for my daughter to see it was something even way bigger.
Amazing.
So so that was Seattle. That might have been my favorite one with her, probably because of all that.